All right. Welcome to Sundays with Steve show. This is the fifth episode of my show where I am trying to learn about AI and data and all this technology related information that is coming so fast at us. And I'm glad and proud to introduce somebody I know for many, many years, JP Romano. Welcome to the
And
show. I'm so glad you could make it today. And if you don't mind, obviously we know each other from Bloomberg, and Bloomberg hires the smartest, the most, the people who are more, I don't want to say best than everybody else, but Bloomberg, I'm hoping to be in that line of the people who know what they're doing, to say, right? And I know you work in data related graphics. I know you like Python, you like all this engineering stuff. Would you mind introducing yourself to the audience and say how you got to Bloomberg and what do you do?
all right, well, thanks for having me. It's true what you say that there's a lot of sort of elite level people that are here. It's really an honor to work with so many of them, including yourself. I was hired before they started hiring the best of the best, so I've just kind of hung on in every way that I can, whether it was quality assurance or process engineering, and now I'm actually in knowledge graph now. And I got into Knowledge Graph because I was approached by some people who were sort of starting the department, um, looking for people who might have an interest in tackling some challenges that we hadn't really been able to tackle before, and they were going to use this Knowledge Graph approach to do so. They explained the job to me. They explained, modeling and ontologies. And the first thing that came to my mind, and as a result, out of my mouth, was that sounds horrible. I can't imagine any rational person wanting to do that. And then they retorted back with, well, it's an absolute dumpster fire, and we need people that aren't afraid of dumpster fires. And so I said, okay, sign me up. I immediately fell in love with the work that we were trying to do. Building a knowledge graph around both structured and unstructured data that is in some regards very well defined and very poorly defined, all within the same subsets of asset classes is absolutely challenging. It's interesting every day, and I've really enjoyed it, and I hope to be able to enjoy it for several more years.
That's excellent. So now, and speaking of, you started way before everything, all these innovations, same as me, like, we Generation X, not to mention the name and the age, but in general, right? We all came, we're older. When I said, tell to my kids that I'm older than internet, they're like, did you see dinosaurs? Right? They're like, how come? Because internet, as we remember, I think it was 1998 when the internet just started to be here. But how does it change how you feel, especially in your field, now that everybody's talking about, not only talking about it, even in finance, right? On our side, we see every day these different AI platforms being introduced
Mhm.
uh, to make our lives easier, to automate stuff, to make it better, to reduce the errors, but also sometimes to replace people. How you feel about in your field about this?
Yeah, so there was a lot of that sentiment about AI is going to take my job, and I think to some extent that might be the case for quite a few people. But I think really the best thing that we can do, I'm not really on the same level as some of the other people that you've interviewed, right? I'm more like technology adjacent. I'm not an expert in computer science. I mean, I studied ancient political philosophy in college and just sort of found my path this way. What's important, I think, as a takeaway for people like me, um, is that AI isn't coming for your job. AI is coming to help you with your job. It's a tool. It's a partner. And in a lot of ways, it helps level the playing field, right? And by that, what I mean is, you kind of gave that shout out to me in loving Python, with some sarcasm, tongue in cheek. You know, I struggle with it, right? And I don't know why. I just have these mental blocks. And when I take these classes, whether they're video or in person, I get stuck on a concept, and I think, why that way? What about this other thing? And then I can't get past that. I obsess over it, and then I miss everything that comes after. When I'm using AI, I'm using it as a teacher as well, as a one-on-one instructor, where I'm not embarrassed to ask questions over and over. I'm not embarrassed to say, hey, build me a script that does X, Y, Z. And then when it builds it, I go line by line and I say, explain why you did that. And then it gives me an explanation. And I say, well, hold up. Explain it like I'm a 10th grade, first year computer science student who has never done Python before. And it adapts its language and rationale to work in whatever way you want it to. So yeah, it's scary. Yeah, it's changing the face of what we do, but that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It's nothing to be afraid of. I embrace it. I'm excited. I mean, I'm writing code without being able to code that is classifying millions of financial instruments according to the attributes that define those instruments in plain English. Like, it's amazing.
Wow, that is the this is right now is the moment why I like learning from people as opposed to just a course or just some kind of video or somebody else, like just to doing, oh, read this and try to replicate. Right now,
Mhm.
what you said is so important. Like it's like opening my mind right now because you just mentioned you're not embarrassed, not because we're older or younger, it doesn't matter. In general, you're not embarrassed to ask ChatGPT or whatever platform you're using, say, hey, explain to me this. Why is this that way? Or you say in the 10th grader, I usually say, explain to me like I'm a fifth grader.
Yeah, right. Right.
You're a level higher than me. But this is exactly why when you talk to people, right, and people from different backgrounds, like last show, I had somebody from Ireland, right, and they explained certain things. It's like, oh, they have a cow path, and in Ireland there's a path that the cows will take, and they would just make roads out of it instead of changing something, you could just go straight, like use drone and drive, just fly out of it. But certain things that people say, like you wouldn't even think about it unless you from that kind of region. So
Mhm.
that is excellent, interesting point that you made, that we all should be feel free to ask AI and to say, hey, how do I do this and why do you do this? That's the most important, and how to we could improve and learn from it.
Mhm.
What is in your opinion, what is the future of things? Like I know there was a lot of times people say, oh, 3 to 5 years future, everybody's gonna be laid off and the new people gonna, like this one famous person, I always forget his name, but he always quotes saying, people are not gonna lose the jobs to AI, they're gonna lose the jobs to the people who know AI, right? We all have to learn it. That's the whole point of this show. I'm trying to learn. Uh, it's like the car when the cars came out and people on a horse carriages, right? And they're like, I'm not gonna learn the car. It's a new thing. I don't want it. But if you want to
Yeah,
move fast and far, you need to, right? What do you take?
yeah. But I agree with the sentiment, but I think the semantics are important. I think that when you say you have to use AI, you have to be involved with AI. The way that you use it is not always necessarily on the side of the people who are, the ontologists and the programmers building the models and writing the APIs that connect all these different um, things together. It's the people that learn how to use it, because there's always going to be people who prefer the technology side, and then there's always going to be people who prefer the human face side, right? Like I have a son who is getting into wealth management, he's a financial analyst, and that seems to be a role that could very easily be swallowed up by AI,
Mm.
swallowed up. Um, and he and I were kind of discussing what his thoughts were about it. And he said, there's never going to be 100% of the population that is comfortable putting their money behind an algorithm that a machine built. You can use AI to do the research. I can use the AI to build the presentations, but to sit down and have these people in my office and assuage their fears, it puts a face on it, whereas the AI part is still on the back end, right? So it's really, I guess my point is, using AI or existing in this age of AI isn't just about being able to program. It's it's about learning to adapt.
Hmm.
And there's so many ways to adapt and use AI and these technologies as a partner and as a tool and not as a threat.
That's a great point.
Is
Okay.
it? I don't know.
What would be, in your opinion, what would be the best place people go and just learn about it, the theory of it or the practice of it, or just to get better, just to every day we need to learn something new every day, right? Otherwise the day is just gone for nothing.
Right.
What would you recommend? Because there's so many different platforms, the Oracle, Meta, LinkedIn, there's so many different Google, so many different platforms offered free, some of them not so free
Yeah.
courses. But also
Right.
the second part of it, a lot of times I hear some people saying, listen, by the time you finish this course, it's already outdated.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. So
what do you think?
that's a really good question, and it's one that I don't have a great answer to. But the answer that I would give is really pretty much what I mentioned earlier. Just go on one of these free platforms and ask it. Just ask it. Go to Chat GPT, go to the free edition,
Hmm.
and say, I'm interested in learning more about artificial intelligence from a programming perspective, from a user perspective, whatever it is, and see what it tells you. And then literally have a conversation about what you want to get out of the training and see what it recommends. Like you can actually have like a conversation like you're talking to an expert because they are an expert.
That is, that is an excellent point. Excellent point. Well,
Thanks.
I want to thank much more of your time today, JP. I really, I'm glad you were able to join the
I
show. I know
appreciate
how
you
you
having me.
love to be on the camera and you love the pictures. The first time we met, you loved it when we went riding motorcycles, right? And you really wanted to take a picture of you and your side chick, as you call your motorcycle.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm being
And,
sarcastic. I
and
know you don't like technology as much,
you,
but I really, really appreciate it. That makes it so much more.
it, it's been a pleasure talking to you, Steve, as always. And I wish you the best of luck with Sundays with Steve, and I hope it takes off for you.
Thank you so much, JP. I
Enjoy
appreciate it.
the rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye bye.